What's up, guys? This is Andrew Santowski. I am doing UFC on ESPN Plus 38, Ortega versus the Korean Zombie predictions and bets. We're going to start at the bottom of the card. First prelim, Ziam Nurmagomedov against Mark Striegl. Mark Striegl was supposed to make his UFC debut against Timur Valiev back in August. That fight got canceled. I'm not exactly sure what happened. But Mark Striegl, man, great physique. He's got some good wins on his record. Some of the Philippines against Ziam Nurmagomedov. Another great fighter, man. He lost, no shame. He lost to Ronnie Barcelos his last fight. I was originally on Nurmagomedov that fight, but leading up to that fight, I switched my pick to Barcelos, and it turned out to be the right decision. And I hedged my bet on that as well. But he's picked up some good wins. I'll never forget the body kick and punches he landed on Ricardo Ramos that sent Ricardo Ramos up to the featherweight division. Controversial decision over Justin Scoggins in his UFC debut a couple years ago. I think he trains out of New Jersey with Mark Henry. Good fighter. I mean, what else can you say, man? He's another Chechen warrior, Dagestani warrior. The last name of Nurmagomedov, if that tells you anything. Solid fighter, man. But I think Striegl is being highly undervalued here. I don't have a bet on it, but I'm gonna pull up the betting odds right now. Bookmaker.eu, he's a plus 298 underdog. 5 dimes plus 335, but I think the value's on Striegl, man. We've seen with a lot of these Russian fighters that, you know, the fights tend to go to decision, and they tend to be close fights, man. And Striegel's making his UFC debut, and I think he's just being undervalued here just because of the last name and some of the fights on Nurmagomedov's record. So I'm going to go with Striegl for the upset here. No bet. Next fight, we have two Russians going up against each other. Gadsamirov Antagulov against Maxim Grishin. I definitely like Grishin in this fight, man. I was hoping the odds makers would actually open the Grishin as a slight favorite or a slight underdog, just based off the fact that he lost to Tybura in his debut, but he fought Tybura at heavyweight, and he put up a good performance in my mind, man. Tybura didn't show out against that guy, but Tybura didn't really look good in that fight either, so. But Antagulov, man, a one-round fighter, man. I believe he's on a 4-fight losing streak. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, doesn't fight often. They actually fought in July and lost to Paul Craig, which was the pick'em fight. 2 submission artists. His last win came 3.5 years ago. That's bad, very bad. And but I like Grishin in this fight, man. Grishin he's a veteran, man. It's his second UFC fight. Finally fighting at light heavyweight, man. And you know, would I trust him as a 3.5 to 1 favorite? No way. But my pick is going to be Grishin, and I'm going with a second round TKO. Third fight of the night. Ferris Ziam against Jamie Malarkey. My original pick was Malarkey, but over the last couple days, I've kind of changed my pick to Ferris Ziam. Young kid, I think he's got a lot of room to grow. Hasn't fought in over a year when he lost to Don Madge. A lot of money came in prior to him on the fight. Surprisingly, he opened up as a minus 230 favorite on Bet Online for this fight against Jamie Malarkey, and all the money is coming out on Malarkey. All the money is coming in on Malarkey. Man, I don't know what I did. I somehow increased the zoom. Sorry about that, guys. I accidentally increased the zoom. But I'm going with Ziam, man. I think he's got more room to grow in this fight. 23 years old. Malarkey put up a decent performance, but took a lot of damage against Brad Riddell in his UFC debut a year ago. So I'm gonna go with Ziam, man. It should be a close fight. I like both prospects, man. Kind of hate to see them square off against each other, but they're both coming off a loss. Both of them, this is their second UFC fight. So, man, great matchup, man. I look forward to watching this fight. But my pick is Ziam by decision. Next up, we got Jun Park against John Phillips. Park is a big favorite in this fight. He's a 3-1 favorite, currently a -290 against John Phillips. John Phillips, they call him the Mike White Tyson. And he's a great stand-up fighter. Park, he's a good stand-up fighter as well, but he can also mix in wrestling. But I'm gonna go with John Phillips with the upset, man. I don't think John Phillips is an easy match for anybody, man. And the guy made it into the second round. The guy made it into the second round against Kazmat Chimaev, and you know, that's a feat itself, especially being a boxer like he is. Not known for being a ground fighter. He's not an easy out for anybody, man. I just don't think you can't just take John Phillips lightly, man. He's gonna bring it, man, and you're gonna have to take him down to really beat the guy, you know, and or really kick his lead leg. He stands heavy on his lead leg, but I'm gonna go with John Phillips, man. I'm gonna go with a first round knockout. Maybe Phillips catches him and knocks him out. No bet. Next up, we got Jillian Robertson against Pollyanna Patello. And, man, Jillian Robertson, good-looking woman. Glad to see her pick up a win, man. In her last fight against Courtney Casey, she dominated Casey for all 3 rounds. Really neutralized Casey's jiu-jitsu. She's coming off a loss to Macy Barber last October. No shame in that. And like I said, she's had an up and down UFC career, but she has looked good, man, and I do think she has potential, man. She's definitely one of the higher up. She's definitely one of the better women ground fighters that the UFC currently has, especially in the flyweight division. But her stand-up leaves a lot to be desired, man. And Pollyanna Patello, well-rounded. Great stand-up. I think she can use her wrestling in reverse here and keep it standing. Nice win over Lauren Mueller a year and a half ago. So she's been inactive for a year and a half. She lost to Cynthia Calvillo, almost 2 years ago. And I remember she was a slight favorite in that fight. And Calvillo just took her down and got a submission on her. But she's a tough fighter, man, and I think that people are sleeping on her. She's a plus 158 underdog currently on Bookmaker. No bet, but my pick is Patello by decision. Next up, 2 UFC debutants. Kutateldze, the Georgian, against Mateusz Gamrot, the Pole. Gamrot is a -325 favorite coming over from the Polish MMA organization, KSW. He's undefeated. I'm going with Kutateldze in this fight, man. When you're a UFC debutant and you're a -300 favorite, I don't think it's going to be a wipeout like that. Kutateldze trains with Chimaev. Chimaev was in Vegas training with this guy. He's coming off a nice knockout win over Felipe Silva, another UFC veteran that beat Shane Campbell in the UFC. And he's a stand-up guy. But I'm gonna go with Kutateldze, man. He's another guy that's he's 11-2, 8-fight win streak, man. And I think he's being highly undervalued here. And I'm gonna go with Kutateldze against the Pole, purely because he's an underdog. He's a plus 244 underdog, man. So I think the value clearly lies with him, especially 2 UFC debutants, man. You don't know what you're gonna get, man. I think it's gonna be a close fight. But I'm going to go with Kutateldze by decision, but he could also win by knockout. Jonathan Martinez against Thomas Almeida. We haven't seen Almeida in 20 months. And he's currently a minus 141 favorite. He opened up as almost a 2-to-1 favorite on BetOnline. I'm going to go with Jonathan Martinez, man, just because Martinez has been more active. You don't know what to get from Almeida, man. Almeida lost all his hype in 2016 when he lost to Cody Garbrandt, man. I was really high on Almeida, man. I thought Almeida was the next big thing. I drank the Kool-Aid on him. I thought he was, man, but he's got chin issues, man. Whether they've been resolved or not, I highly doubt it. His last fight was the Rob Font. Got knocked out in the second round. He's also lost to Jimmy Rivera, so he hasn't been in the UFC in 20 months, and I think a lot of people have forgotten about him, and he's lost his relevancy in the bantamweight division. I don't know if he's ever going to get it back, man, but I'm going to go with Jonathan Martinez by decision, possibly a TKO finish. Claudio Silva against James Krause. Man, this is an interesting fight, man. I'm going to go with Claudio Silva by as the underdog, plus 110. James Krause opened as almost I want to say a minus 180 or minus 190. James Krause opened as a minus 215 on 5 dimes. But I'm going with Claudio Silva, man. Claudio Silva, more of a ground fighter, jiu-jitsu ace, but he's got decent stand-up, man. He's really impressed me, man. He holds a win over Leon Edwards, too, from 6 years ago, which is impressive in its own right. James Krause, he's a coach at Glory MMA, kickboxing and MMA in Kansas City, Missouri. He's got a great camp. I think he's more of a coach at this point. Good stand-up, good all-around fighter. But I'm going to go with Claudio Silva here, man. I'm going to predict the decision win for Claudio Silva. Next up, light heavyweight fight I'm highly looking forward to. Do not understand the odds at all in this fight. Jimmy Crute, minus 330 against Modestas Bukauskas, the Lithuanian that lives in the UK, plus 248 underdog. I'm going with Bukauskas, man. It's a stand-up versus ground fighter. Bukauskas, the karate fighter, against Crute, the submission guy. Bukauskas, man, I think he's got a lot of potential, man. He's a young guy. He's 26 years old. Great stand-up. Great length for this weight class. .78-inch reach, 6'3", the Baltic Gladiator, hot-ass girlfriend. But I really like what I saw in his UFC debut against Andreas Michailidis. And all the money came in on Michailidis in that fight, man, and it closed it almost pick him, and Bukauskas really hurt him on the feet bad, and it was a good stoppage by the ref, man. There was no controversy in that. The ref stopped it, and it needed to be stopped. Jimmy Crute, great ground fighter, man. I don't think he was ever going to be a top 5 guy. He's currently ranked in Tapology as the number 14th best MMA light heavyweight fighter. Coming off a nice win over Michael Oleksiejczuk. That I predicted Oleksiejczuk to win in that fight, but Crute just ragdolled him. I think he used a lot of gas to get him out of there in round 1, though. He had a back and forth fight with Misha Serkunov a year ago when he lost, man. And, Serkunov, he's another ground fighter, but, man, he's kind of, he doesn't have a good chin, man. Losing to Serkunov is never good, but it was a back and forth war, and Serkunov showed some heart to get that win. He's got win over Sam Alvey and Paul Craig in the UFC. 2 fighters that you need to have a win over to be in the UFC, to be relevant. But like I said, man, he's got a 72-inch reach. Bukauskas has got a big reach on him. Bukauskas is a little taller. Crute's a young guy as well. He's 24. He's actually 24, so he's younger. But which is surprising. But I'm gonna go with Bukauskas, man. I think Bukauskas catches him and finishes him, man. First round TKO for Bukauskas. This is a women's flyweight fight between Jessica Andrade and Caitlin Chookagian. Andrade has fought in all 3 weight classes now. Bantamweight. Recently moving up from strawweight, which I thought she had a powerful physique for. Former women's strawweight champion, but coming off a loss in the rematch to Rose Namajunas. And Caitlin Chookagian, man, former women's bantamweight fighter, but been fighting as a women's flyweight for a long time. She's coming off a nice win over Antina Shevchenko back in May, late May. That was a nice win. Controlled her on the ground. Coming off a loss to her sister prior to that, Valentina Shevchenko, in the title fight. Lost on the UFC 247 card to Valentina Shevchenko. But I like Chookagian in this fight. Do not understand why she's I want to say a plus 120 underdog, plus 135 underdog. I think it's crazy. This is Chookagian's natural weight class. She's the bigger fighter. Andrade has a severe height and reach disadvantage. She has to close the distance. She has to fight Chookagian close. She has to land powerful punches. And I just think Chookagian can control the reach round. I think Chookagian can control the reach and the length of this fight, keep distance, pepper Andrade with punches, possibly get takedowns on Andrade, and I just think Chookagian's the better fighter in this point of her career. And I'm going to go with Chookagian in this fight, man. I'm kind of puzzled by where the odds are, man. But whatever, we're going to find out tomorrow. Main event, Brian Ortega against Chan Sung Jung. And, man, like I said, guys, I am all over Brian Ortega in this fight. Korean Zombie's had some impressive performances, man. I bet on him against Renato Moicano. Cash that bet. I bet on him against Frankie Edgar. Cash that bet. And I'm betting against them to Brian Ortega, man. I like Brian Ortega in this fight. Ortega is being highly undervalued because of his last fight against Max Holloway. Hasn't fought in 22 months. He switched his training camp. He's training at Coach Kell's garage now for the most part. I don't think he's doing all of his training over there. Obviously, Coach Kell has Dillashaw training over there. Bantamweight champion. Or Bellator Bantamweight champion. The Spanish dude. The Spanish Legionnaire. Can't even think of his name right now. But, so, I mean, I'm going with Ortega, man. He should definitely have improved conditioning. Just, you know, he's a great ground fighter as it is. Great jiu-jitsu guy. But he's got underrated boxing and underrated stand-up, man. And I think everybody's asking all the questions about Ortega, but not asking any questions in return about the Korean Zombie, man. The Korean Zombie, like I said, he hasn't been out of the first round in over 3 years. He almost went 5 rounds with Yair Rodriguez, but he got knocked out in the last second of the last round. So, I think there's a lot to be desired here, man. What is the Korean Zombie really like after the first round? How's he going to fare against Ortega, man? We know Ortega has the cardio. And I think Ortega just, like I said, he's being highly discounted just because he took a lot of damage against Max Holloway. But to think that Ortega doesn't want to win or hasn't made improvements in his game, the Korean Zombie hasn't fought in 10 months, and he last beat Edgar. And he took a lot. He had to dish out a lot of punches and punishment to beat Edgar. Edgar didn't go out easily. And like I said, man, you know, the Korean Zombie's coming off eye surgery as well. You don't know what he's gonna come back as. But for the Korean Zombie to be a 2-1 favorite over Ortega, no way, man, no way. Ortega's being highly undervalued just purely because of his last fight, man. And if he's really cut all the negativity out of his life and he's cut out the bad people that were influencing him to make bad decisions and weren't helping him get better as a person and fighter, then, man, he should be the best fighter we've ever seen from him. You know, this should be the best Brian Ortega or a Brian Ortega on the right path. And I definitely think he can upset the Korean Zombie and go on to face Alexander Volkanovski. But I'm excited for this fight, man. I'd love to see the Korean Zombie against Alexander Volkanovski or Max Holloway as well. But I'm going to go with Brian Ortega, man. I think Chan Sung Jung is coming in a little more emotional than Brian Ortega. Ortega has admitted to being emotional, but Chan Sung Jung looks a lot more bothered by this than Ortega. And if he wants revenge or to avenge the slap to Jay Park, then, you know, there's a lot of pressure on him, man. And I don't think Ortega feels that same pressure, man. I think the pressure on Ortega is not more personal towards Chancellor Young. I think the pressure on Ortega is that he wants to get a win. He wants to get himself back on the right path. He's had a 2-year absence, man, and, you know, that's a lot of thinking about the last loss and thinking about the events that have happened, you know, coming off an ACL tear a year ago. A lot at stake for Ortega, man, but I like Brian Ortega here, man. I think he'll catch the Korean Zombie coming in, and I think Ortega packs a punch, man, and maybe he knocks out Chancellor Young clean. Maybe he knocks him down, submits him, or maybe he picks up a decision here. But, man, I'm going with Brian Ortega, man. I just sensed something. I'm going with Brian Ortega, plus 158. That's my bet. These are my predictions for UFC on ESPN plus 38, guys. Hope you tune in. I cannot wait. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.